Well, hello everybody. I am the Orca Theory. Welcome back to Dark Souls 3. I'm just gonna check a little bit around Firelink Shrine.
At the foot of Lothric Castle.
Yeah, Undead Settlement.
To
Yeah. I got the stones for it. So we know that Grey Rat came back. He's not really giving us much. We've already talked to Leonhard, who is, I think, gone now. Up until I get the Red Eye Soapstone, which is what we are going to do now. Now, to get to the Red Eye Soapstone, you actually have to go back to the Tower on the Wall bonfire over in Lothric High Wall. The Red Eye Soapstone is an invasion item. I think anybody that's familiar with the Dark Souls series knows that. Or well, just the Red Eye Orb. I'm sorry, not the Soapstone. I'm thinking of the Soapstones, but the Red Eye Orb is an entirely different item. The Red Eye Orb allows for active invasions when you're online. So the way that you access that is you actually go back to the Tower on the Wall. And I did not investigate this my first time through here because, you know, I knew better. Make sure he goes out because he can give me trouble, especially with this thief here. Ooh! Nice! Okay. So he took a little bit of damage off me. Let's just make sure I got my Estus up. We're going to take this guy out with a drop attack. And he is going to try to get us, but he is not going to be able to. So the way that we do this is we go down here, like we would normally go to rescue Grey Rat. But instead we're going to take a little bit of a different direction. I'm just going to take this guy out. Shouldn't be more than 3 hits. Yes. And the key that he gave us will open up this door over here. This is a little bit difficult for me to understand. There's a lot of callbacks in Dark Souls 3 to both the preceding games, but there's a lot of heavy influences from Dark Souls 1, including this guy, who, if you're paying very close attention, is actually a Dark Wraith. And I'm going to see if I can try to get the backstab on him. That's why I'm walking slow. I'm not just doing that for shits and giggles. There we go. Got the backstab. That's a good way to get some early damage on him. And you see I just took him down. Easy peasy, but he gives you the Red Eye Orb. And you can see this is the exact model from Dark Souls 1, complete with his sword. You can actually pick up that sword on rare drops. This enemy does appear in multiple locations. I haven't really talked a lot about these statues here. Well, they're not even just statues, they're just armor. And there's no bodies in those armor. They're completely fallen. The only reason that the armor might be left behind without a body I can think of is some sort of fire. And I'm not sure if there's evidence for that, but what we do have here is a whole bunch of these weird flowers, you'll see. Oh god, they look terrible close up. But just about everywhere where you see these armor sets that are just hanging around, you see these little flowers. I am guessing that at this point, with the decay of Lothric, with the decay of the world in general, these bodies just happen to rot away. And what happened as a result of them rotting away is their souls are now fusing back with the world, or something like that. I can't really... I'm gonna have to see if there's any lore dumps on that anywhere. But first, we gotta get the lore dump on our good friend, the Red Eye Orb. Online play item. Defeat the host of embers of the world you have invaded to gain the strength of fire. The Red Eye Orb is rooted in a tiny land swallowed by darkness long ago. Some choose to put the orb to other uses. To embark on this path, enter the service of Rosaria in the Cathedral of the Deep. So that's your hint there about where to go to make the best use of this item. The tiny land long ago, that was New Londo from Dark Souls 1. Home of the Dark Wraiths, where there were plenty of those guys just hanging around. All those Titanite chunk farming runs back in the day. So it's implied that the Dark Wraiths have in fact survived, and there are now hints that the area that we are currently in, Lothric, and the wider Undead settlement all the way down through Irithyll, that those are locations that are geographically in the same place as Dark Souls 1. Lothric being probably the closest approximation for actual Lordran itself. The geography of this place is actually super interesting if you try to get into the nitty-gritty of it. This game does a much better job of emulating a continent-sized landmass as opposed to Dark Souls 2, which had a lot of impossible movements. The elevator in the Iron Keep being probably the most optimal example, going from Earthen Peak, a place that really doesn't have anything above it, taking an elevator at the top to a mountainous volcano area. This game does a much better job of making it feel like you're traveling from zone to zone in a large area. And while there are some locations that are just straight taken from Dark Souls 1, I feel like some of these places have disjointed and combined to become one. The Undead Burg, New Londo, parts of Anar Londo becoming what we now know as Lothric. But anyways, I don't know why I came over here. We have to go see Leonhard. Here I am just spouting off nonsense. That's the way this playthrough's gonna go. I'm just gonna talk through some stuff. As we discover more information, I'll probably like go back and say like, hey, that was bullshit. But don't give me too hard a time on that.
And if you grow weary of your duty, you too may become a finger. Come on, give yourself to Rosaria of the Cathedral of the Deep. Now invade.
Okay, so he doesn't give you anything else. So the Rosaria Covenant, the Rosaria's Fingers Covenant, that's the invasion covenant. It's different for every game. This just happens to be this one. We'll talk a little bit more about them once we enter the actual Cathedral of the Deep and try to find Rosaria herself. We are actually going to head back to the Undead Settlement, and I don't know which way to go. I think I'm going to take the dilapidated bridge across. It's a little bit more direct, less mobs to have to deal with. You could run by most of them, so I'm not too worried. And there's one bit that I don't think we did, so it's another reason just to go down here. Now, if you remember, we had this giant rat problem in the fog. What you can do to avoid that is actually just go all the way down this little hallway. Their spawn zone is just within the fog, or their aggro zone. So they're not a problem as long as you're just outside there when you land here in the sewers. Take care of him. Yeah, and we did not go over here. So we are gonna... Oh, it's locked. Let's go back to Firelink. I'll cut this out for you folks. See you in a second. Sorry about that, folks. I forgot to pick up the actual grave key from the Shrine Handmaiden. Once you hand in the Mortician's Ashes to the Shrine Handmaiden back in Firelink Shrine, that's when the grave key becomes available for purchase. I just completely forgot to do that. I planned on doing that off session while I was doing some farming. Not that farming really wielded much, because I got invaded and died. But this at least gives us a chance to go through here. So now we got the grave key. We can go in through here. Now I talked in whatever 1 or 2 episodes ago that I was going to be doing the DLC blind for you folks, potentially at the end of this run. Got a loincloth here. I am hoping from the DLC that we learn more about this figure. Velka is a prominent figure in Dark Souls 1, and maybe in some conspiracy circles in Dark Souls 2. She is the goddess of sin, of judgment, and there's a lot in Dark Souls 1 that talks about how she is not only in judgment of humanity and lesser beings, but also of the gods themselves. And there's a lot of evidence that potentially many of the events that happened in Dark Souls 1 were a result of her finagling. She is heavily associated with ravens, and so anytime you see raven feathers in a game like this, you automatically have to start thinking about Velka. Look at that skeleton. These skeletons have a little bit different model, where you can see they're kind of shrouded and wrapped in these trees. We talked about the curse-rotted greatwood during the boss rush last time. I have a sneaking suspicion that whatever is happening to these bone skeletons is the same process of what happened to the curse-rotted greatwood. It's really hard to say. That's my sneaking suspicion. Because these skeletons, it's really tough to assume what they are, if they're just skeletons that just come back to life through some sort of magic, or if they are actually undead that have just disintegrated to the point of being a skeleton. I'm assuming that they are undead regardless of the case. And the fact that they've got growths on them, really... This is the only area where it happens. We see a ton of skeletons later on. But this is the only instance where we see skeletons like this. A couple really nice ambushes. If you're familiar with Dark Souls 1, you know what these exact ambushes are. Because these same tricks were in the catacombs. And largely, these guys have the same animations as the skeletons from the catacombs. There's a couple different variances. But largely, they're the same. I think we're getting into a safe zone here. Really imperative to be careful here, especially if you're not paying attention. Whoa, hello. You dropped down on me. For that reason, there are a couple enemies that will zone in. No! Oh, missed him. I'll have to come back from it at some point. I'll do that off camera. But we are under that bridge once you get out of the sewer. Over there is the Giant's Tower. Over there is the Cursed Rotting Greatwood. And if you remember, there's a couple of these butcher guys up here. A couple of them holding pots. This guy will drop down. Not after this item, but after this item. See if I can bait him down. You see he takes fall damage. He's not an issue, but that ambush can surprise you if you're not ready for it. So, we're moving on here through the grave section. I'm really hoping for Velka, especially in that DLC. I'm hoping we get some hints, because a lot of the conspiracy theories behind Dark Souls 1 paint her as this huge character that you never actually meet. She's not in there. Yeah, here's a mob enemy. So actually, the easiest way to handle this is to just grab the item and sprint for the ladder. But I think I'm actually going to try to take this out here. Of course. Might be able to do it. Saint's Talisman, go! Yes. Yeah, this is very reminiscent of Dark Souls 2 with the rat boss. The rats, man, the rats. It's not actually a boss this time, though, which is kind of fun. Try stabbing in the back. Good fucking message. Visions of miracles. Yes, good. This is our miracle merchant.
Who is there? Is someone there? Anyone?
And she is blind.
Oh, please. Whoever you are, touch me. The dark surrounds me, nibbles at my flesh. Little creatures, they never stop biting. So please, hold out your hand and touch
Camera's
me.
getting all wonky. So yeah, she suffers from blindness, or she lives with blindness. I don't know if she's suffering from it too much.
Yes, there you are.
The implications
So
are that
close,
she is
indeed.
misinterpreting her blindness as the
And
dark.
I'm not entirely alone, just yet.
Essentially the abyss.
Praise the
I have
merciful
a feeling
gods
that
above.
actually just might be the case, that she is afflicted with some sort of abyssal problem. Just by the way she describes it, because blindness inherently isn't painful, from what I understand. You know, there's some side effects from certain later in life trauma that can cause blindness and headaches and all that thing. I'm you know, obviously I'm just kind of speculating, but I'm of the mind that she actually has some abyssal problems,
Oh,
and that's
forgive
why
me.
she's in some amount of pain.
I am Irina of Karim. I came to this land so that I might be a firekeeper.
And sooner or later, we're going to be talking about her and the
Your
Firekeepers
touch
in
has
general.
freed me from
Because
the
Firekeepers got a
darkness.
very different treatment in this game.
You are a
Very
champion,
different
then.
treatment.
I am weak and unfit to tend the flames.
I guess so.
But if it would not trouble you, Might I enter into your service instead?
Yeah, I don't see why not, yeah.
Oh, thank you, sweet champion. I shall take my vows. I, Irina of Karim, solemnly swear to serve you.
Sweet. So she just went back to Firelink Shrine. She's our miracle merchant. We're not going to be doing much with her. I might purchase a few miracles just to push her quest line down the road. But she was being escorted by this guy who we've talked to earlier.
Rescued her, have you? How very quaint. Pitying creatures that are beyond help.
Yeah, he's not too fond of us. Most people from Karim are jerks. We talked about Earl Arstor of Karim after we defeated the rotted Greatwood. This guy is also from Karim. Most people from Karim are complete shitbags.
I am allied to
Most
you for
people.
as long as you assure the girl's safety. And only for that
Lautrec
long.
of Karim, Aegon of Karim, Earl Arstor of Karim, just generally bad people. So he is just giving us his blessing for us to take care of her. So as long as we take care of her, we're in his good graces. The problem is that to continue her quest line, we're going to have to be kind of a dick. Will this go back down? Yes. So now we are headed off to the next zone. And unfortunately, we have quite the enemy ahead of us. Dry lift. Let there be fleeing. Shield required ahead. We're actually going to try this without a shield. Normally when I face this guy, I do have at least some sort of shield. This is an Outrider Knight, similar to Vort of the Boreal Valley. Our good friend Bort. This guy is much smaller, much faster, but similar enough moveset. Try to get at least a little bit of a stagger on him. He's very, very quick. Best strategy: dodge his attacks. Try to get one of these pot shots in. Ooh, frostbitten. Frostbitten is very dangerous. What Frostbite does is it decreases a lot of different stats. The big problem is that it will use up, you will end up using more stamina with each move, and it recovers more slowly. That's the big issue. Health recovery is also inhibited. And, oh, there's one more. I forget. So we just defeated an Outrider Knight, and we got his sword, the Irithyll Straight Sword. Straight Sword bestowed upon the Outrider Knights of the Boreal Valley. This weapon is enshrouded in frost and causes frostbite. Really, really nice weapon for the early game. Frostbite isn't handy so much against kind of the PvE enemies, but if you're looking to get into some PvP early in your games against people of similar levels, like, I'm sitting at 26, so I'll be hitting people between about 20 and 30-ish. This can be a devastating sword because of that frostbite effect. Anyways, every Outrider Knight one day devolves into a beast, constantly hounded by Pontiff Sullivan's black eyes. Those black eyes we discussed in the ring, which I don't think I actually got. I did. Yeah, the Pontiff's left eye. That's those rings. Whether or not the black eyes themselves are people like Vort who actually carry the rings, or if it's just an affliction by being away from the Boreal Valley. Who knows? Time for Sniper Spot. Which you can actually do. Actually, that's not a bad... Ooh, gee. This area is chugging. What the hell? There we go. That's not a bad strategy for that. So this is an exploitation move that is available in every Dark Souls game, because when you aggro an enemy, they have a certain range where once they reach the impetus of that range, they will start to backtrack back and head back to the center of that aggro zone. So if you're having trouble with this guy, and I mean real trouble, what you can do is book it past him, open the door because you're invincible during the opening animation, roll through, turn around, bow him to death. Just another way to handle it if you're having absolute trouble with him. As you can see, I'm using a kind of medium speed quality weapon, and I did just fine. Took a couple big hits, but did alright. So that is it for this episode of Dark Souls 3. I am the Orca Theory. Next time we will be exploring the Crucifixion Woods. Bye-bye.